Vitória Badini e hoje a gente está aqui com o segundo episódio do quadro Mulheres no Automobilismo do Racing BR em colaboração com o Esportudo W. Hoje a gente está aqui com a Ana Alkbase. Ela agora está pilotando pela F1 Academy e ela é a nossa segunda convidada, uma mulher também muito inspiradora. Foi a primeira mulher árabe a entrar no automobilismo profissional. Então, hoje a gente vai conversar aqui um pouquinho com ela. Amna, how are you?
Very well. How are you?
We are very, very grateful to have you today. Sophie, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm very happy to be there.
Yeah, that's very huge for us. We always try to show women in motorsport, and this is a very happy moment for us to be able to do a whole season of interviews with only women in motorsport, both in Brazil and internationally. So, Amna, I will start asking you to talk a little bit about your career and how did you get in F1 Academy?
So I started karting at 14 years old, so very late compared to everybody else. I competed nationally for 2 years and then internationally in the last 2 years of my season in karting. And then after winning the championship in the UAE and finishing in strong positions in Europe, we decided that it was time to move up to Formula 4. And I gained the sponsorship from Kaspersky Lab, who were the first company to sponsor, well, it was their first time to sponsor a woman in motorsports. So it was a very proud moment for me and for them to represent not just a woman in motorsport, but also someone from the Middle East. And my first few years in single-seaters was very difficult because I had no testing. I just went straight into the races and the championship. And we saw how much of a difference it makes to just be testing and practicing and knowing the tracks beforehand. And for me, I was just at a disadvantage. So it was just, a learning curve for me. And then I had to stop racing due to Corona. We had no funding, so I stopped racing for 2 years. And then F3 Asia came out, and we decided to try F3 Asia, and we got the budget for it. And it was very difficult, but in my last race in Formula 3 Asia, I was able to finish in P9. So that was a proud moment for me. And then we went into F1 Academy.
And how did your interest in motorsports begin?
In the beginning, it was because my father, he was racing in motorsports, and I was 9 years old at that time, and I was doing gymnastics. So I didn't find the spark in gymnastics. There's always a competition once a year. It was very boring for me. You have to train like every single day just to go for one competition, and then that's it. So it was very boring for me. And when I saw my dad, he was racing every month, and he's traveling, and he gets to compete and be with, different people, visit different parts of the world. So I told him, I was pushing him when I was 9 years old that I want to start racing. And then, I started at 14.
And we imagine you would talk about your dad, and the next question is basically about it. So you're racing with your sister in F1 Academy, and you too raced with your dad too in Asian regional, right?
Yeah.
And how does it feel like to be on track with your family?
So with my sister and my father, my dad always plays these games in the beginning. He says, whoever finishes ahead gets a point. And I told him, listen, if you play this game, we will not be a family anymore. We'll be crashing into each other. So it's actually really nice to share something together. So he also becomes more understanding about how difficult it is to be in a race car, how difficult it is overtaking and dealing with different drivers. So he has an idea of what me and my sister go through in single-seaters. So it's actually really nice, and we give each other advice and tips. In the very beginning, we used to fight, but then we kind of calmed down and actually just helped each other out.
Yeah, I thought just that because I think it for one side it's good because you three know what you've been through and what you go
Mhm.
through on track. But if I was racing my sister, I hope my mom does not say that, but I would be a lot less careful because
Yeah.
I would be like, oh, that's my sister and I gotta overtake her no matter what. I
Yeah, yeah,
wouldn't
I agree. Yeah.
I think it would be difficult, but it's good. I think you and her seem to have a really close relationship, and it's a cool story to share. That you are in family, I think that's very cool.
Thank you.
Yes, and you, yes, I'm the same thing. I have a sister, so if I was in track with her, like, oh my God, I have to win. It's my sister. I have to be on front of her.
Yeah.
And yes, and you race in a lot of categories. And what do you think is the difference between driving a just woman category and like in a category with men's and women's?
Don't see much of a difference actually. I feel it's the same. Um, I don't know why people think that women are more prone to causing crashes or causing, safety cars, but it's actually the opposite. We're more careful, more cautious. I mean, everybody doesn't want to damage their car at the end of the day. So actually, I see it more calm to race with women than it is with men. Other than that, there isn't much of a difference. I mean, the competition is there, the difficulty is there, the overtakes are good. So I would say we're equal in a way. I would just say that women are more careful.
Yeah, I think that saying women crash more is actually very silly.
Yeah.
But I saw in other interviews you talking about how cars in Formula are built for men, and do you think they are still built for a male body? And do you see that changing in like a near future or something?
Yeah, I mean, we've noticed in the past few years that the single seater cars are built for a man. The way it's shaped, the steering wheel, the way the pedals are made, it's all built for a male competitor. So we spoke to Dallara and we spoke to the championship to fix these causes because it's not ideal. There's a woman who would like to join the championship and she's at a disadvantage because there is some things that don't fit her, some things that don't make her comfortable in the car. So they actually will release a new chassis either this year or next year, and it will have the measurements of both male and female, so it's equal to both.
That's amazing. And in F1 Academy, you didn't feel that.
I mean, in F1 Academy, it's Formula 4 car, so it's very normal. It's not a big, huge difference car. It's the same car. It's just we have
Hmm.
different front wings and rear wings, but I'm used to it already in the F4 car, so it's not much of a big difference. But when we move to F3 or F2, that's where you notice the difference.
Yeah. And with the end of W Series, a lot of women, I think, not like lost the chance, but it was a very approachable category because it was free. What I would like to know is how much of the investment you had to do to F1 Academy. Was it extremely difficult? Was it okay?
I mean, for us, it was easier for me and my sister. So, $150,000 is less than 50% of how much you should pay in an actual championship in as good of tracks as we do in F1 Academy. And let's say like you want to do testing. Um, when you apply to a championship with a team, the official testing isn't really included with the price. So you have to pay extra more for just testing. So I would say like it's a very suitable price. It's reasonable. It really helps us out. It's now like getting me back in. I mean, I had enough money for from brand deals and I spoke to a few brands who would like to have their name on the car, and it really was a reasonable price for me. So I would say it was a perfect price.
Yes, and yeah, the Formula One Academy, like they already racing on famous track like Zandvoort, Monza. And how do you feel like racing in this track? Like they have a history in motorsports.
I mean, I love Monza. I drove in Monza like 5 years ago when I first started in F4. So coming back to it was like, nostalgic. But this time it was not raining, which was way better for me. Um, I haven't been to Zandvoort. Zandvoort was my first time. Paul Ricard was my first time. Red Bull Ring, I've been there again 5 years ago and I never went back. So it was really nice to be able to visit tracks for the first time to get that experience and that knowledge, and as well as revisit tracks that I wasn't able to drive in such a long period of time. So it's they have really good strong tracks in the calendar, and I'm really happy that I had the chance to join this year.
Yeah, that's so nice. And we are on Formula E tests in 2018. And what do you think is the most difference between Formula E cars and like the junior category cars?
So the Formula E car, doesn't have an engine, so it's very smooth. It's a light car. It's I mean it's on a street track, so you don't have much grip. So it's like driving a normal car basically down the street. It's a nice car, but I'm not a big fan of electric. I love engine. I love to hear the engine, the turbo and everything, the paddle shift. In a Formula E car, you don't have that. And one small mistake on a street track, you're in the wall. So it's kind of like it's very thrilling to drive in a Formula E car, but at the same time, it's not as exciting as driving in an engine car.
I couldn't unmute it. So my next question is also about like the Formula One weekend. The last race of the year is gonna be there together with Formula One. What is the sensation of it? Because you all are racing, I think, with one of the most, if not the most famous category in motorsport. How does it feel?
Do you mean in Austin or Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, in Austin. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, in Austin, I mean, to be able to drive in the same race weekend as in Formula One, I drove the same race weekend as well in the F4 UAE Trophy round in November 2019. And I would say the experience is amazing. You have crowds literally everywhere. You get to step on the F1 podium. So after your race, you have F1 drivers stepping on that podium. You're able to stop in front of the main pits of F1 teams. It's a very cool experience, It's you have F1 drivers even watching you. So it's a very nice and cool experience, and I would definitely would love to repeat that again. And in Austin, they're very, very crazy about motorsports in the past few years. So a different experience in the US. So I'm excited for it.
You are in the great position in the championship. What are your expectations for the end of the season?
So my points, I've lost a lot of points from penalties and a few mistake by myself. So for me, there is not much of expectations in terms of position in championship. It's just to do well in the race weekend, try to get at least a podium, and make myself proud out there.
But I think, how do you view it, the season, like in a whole? Because you won a race, you are third in the championship now. Are you? Of course, the goal is always to be champion and to be first. But for the first season, how do you see it?
For the first season, for me, it was just to get back into the car. I haven't been driving for a year. So it was just, to get back into the car, get back into the momentum, try to be within the pace. And I was actually really surprised. In the first race weekend, I was already winning a race and being on podium. So then I set really high expectations for myself, and it kind of like went down from there. So I think for me, it's just to be really relaxed and to just take experience and learn the tracks. And hopefully for next year, we take it all for next year.
So thank you very much, Anna, for
Thank
being
you.
here with us today. I know you all have really busy schedules, and it's very nice to hear because we in Brazil we've been fighting battles, but sometimes we seem to forget to look like what the rest of the world is fighting too. So it's very nice to hear, and it's very nice to have someone that it was a pioneer in your region and all. So it's very cool for us to talk to you and to bring that experience and the insights of
Thank you.
you and everything to Brazil. So thank you so much for your time.
Of
We
course.
are always open for everything. And really, really thank you. Sophie, do you want to
Of
say
course.
something?
Yeah, just that. Thank you for your time. It was a great interview. Like your answers, like so great. Like I'm thinking about ideas of videos of posts. Like so. Thank you so much. It's very.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure.
Então, se você gostou desse vídeo, você pode clicar aqui no compartilhar, comentar, curtir, seguir a Ana, seguir a gente também. Então, muito obrigada por você que ficou até aqui e assistiu. Um beijo e até a próxima.